Welcome back to the Den of Nerds. I am Josh, and we need to talk about all the incredible things that are happening with the Avengers and the X-Men right now on the set of Avengers Doomsday. There are various new reports and leaks and even images and videos coming out. And on top of all of that, we have news from Jeff Snyder about Magneto, Charles Xavier, Jean Grey, and Cyclops for the brand new X-Men team, which is going to come out after Avengers Secret War. It's absolutely fucking incredible, dude. Buckle up. This shit is wild. Oh, and obviously, spoiler warning, right? But come on, man. If you're watching this channel, you're probably cool with the spoilers. We don't know everything. We don't know how all of this is going to shake out, but this stuff seems pretty real at this point, so again, buckle up. So the first thing we need to talk about is the fact that Daniel RPK came out to confirm that they are currently filming a massive battle between the X-Men and the Avengers right now, and this all appears to be on the set of Avengers Doomsday. It is that same external set that we've been covering for weeks. And Daniel also adds that the X-Men will be wearing comic book accurate costume. And what he probably means here is stuff that looks more like X-Men 97. We're talking about the blue and the gold, and look, Beast might be wearing just his doctor friggin' coat. But just like Wolverine got the more traditional comic book costume in Deadpool and Wolverine, we can assume that a lot of the Fox X-Men that have returned for Avengers Doomsday will get that same treatment in that film. And so this is obviously really freaking cool, getting the Avengers versus the X-Men outside of the X-Mansion. And it also does confirm that those comments made by the actor that plays Nightcrawler about him fighting against Pedro Pascal were likely true. And that means that Reed Richards is likely with the Avengers as they are fighting against the X-Men. But you know who else might be here with the X-Men? The freaking Red Hulk, and also Bruce Banner Hulk, and also She-Hulk. And the reason we believe this is because Atlanta Filmmaking, when they first scooped that Doomsday was beginning production, had indicated that 3 different Hulks were doing motion capture work immediately. Like, as soon as this thing started shooting, there were apparently 3 different actors doing mocap for Hulk stuff right away. And although it was never 100% confirmed, the account that posted this did like somebody's comment referring to Red Hulk, Bruce Banner, and She-Hulk. And there are some accounts online that are saying that they have heard that Red Hulk is involved in this big fight with the X-Men and the Avengers. Now, there's more crazy stuff, like we gotta talk about Doctor Doom, we gotta talk about the Sentinels, which are apparently there as well. But let's just take a freaking moment here. For a long time, I've thought, man, the Fox X-Men would absolutely demolish the current Avengers. And for the most part, I still think that's true. However, you add in not 1, but 3 different Hulks into the mix. I mean, let's just talk in terms of pure strength, right? Like, if it's the Bruce Banner we've seen in the past couple of years of Marvel, the one that's Professor Hulk, right? He's not as savage. He's not going to be as tough as he was, but he's still formidable, right? I would argue that he and Jen are probably at the same level of being incredibly durable and incredibly powerful fighters. But the Red Hulk, the actual President Ross Red Hulk, he might be the strongest of all of the Hulks right now. Number 1, because he's just absolutely savage. He's still raw when that Hulk power comes out of him. Number 2, he also makes things hot and even potentially melts things that are around him. Depending on how much time has passed between the end of Brave New World and the beginning of Doomsday, Thaddeus Ross might well have gained a little bit more control over the Hulk. And that actually makes him even more dangerous, because Thaddeus is obviously a general. He has an incredible amount of combat experience. You put a mind like that into a Hulk-like body, that is a dangerous combination. And even though I thought Brave New World was absolutely terrible, the Red Hulk parts of that movie were dope. And I would love to see Red Hulk actually smashing X-Men in the Avengers Doomsday film. So, oh my freaking God. X-Men in the traditional costume, fighting against Avengers, fighting against Reed Richards, and potentially the Red Hulk and the other Hulks are there too. Like, this scene seems ridiculous. But there's another element here that's wildly interesting, and I don't quite know how to fit it into everything else that we know about this scene. And that is that there are apparently several different Sentinels that are now going to that set. I'm gonna put up this blurred video for you right here. This is from the set, and you can kind of see that these are props, and these are just massive Sentinels that are also a part of this scene. Now, they do seem to already be destroyed, and so I wonder if this is something where it was like a first wave that comes after the X-Men are actually the Sentinels. And the thing that's wild is this also has to tie into this other big rumor that is out there about how Doctor Doom is going to actually set up this fight against the X-Men and the Avengers. What he's really trying to do is actually weaken both factions so that then he can take these really powerful beings and recreate the universe. And so Doctor Doom may well be leading this group of Avengers against the X-Men, and he might actually be the one that is piloting these Sentinels, or maybe using these Sentinels, like maybe he hacks them. Not really sure, but this scene is seeming so over the top and crazy. This is going to be an absolutely epic fight. It's almost to the point where I'm thinking this might be the climax of the entire movie, because it just seems so big scale, and it seems like there's so many different characters, so many wild combinations of powers being used. Magneto fighting against Doctor Doom, Sentinels fighting against the X-Men, Nightcrawler fighting against Reed Richards, the friggin' Hulk's getting in on this. Like, this just seems wild as hell. I suppose it's possible that these Sentinels are actually used by the X-Men and maybe Magneto takes them over. Like, that's happened before in comics, and actually it's happened before in movies too. You're getting the X-Men in comic accurate suits, and you're getting a version of the Avengers that's going to include the Thunderbolts team, you know, the new Avengers. It's going to include Sam and his team. It's going to potentially include all of these Hulks. It's going to include Reed Richards and his family. And it's going to also include Doctor Doom. Well, by golly, that's a fight I think the Avengers might actually be able to win. Holy shit. So anyway, this stuff's just fucking mind-blowing. So I thought I'd bring it up in this video. I'm going to be following along with all the other leaks and rumors and try to figure out what the hell is going on. But now I want to talk about Jeff Snyder's recent scoop about the X-Men. This is actually pretty wild here. So I'm going to go over this a little bit more on stream. So if you watch this video before the stream on Friday, come on by 11 a.m. over on our streaming channel. But essentially, Jeff Snyder said a couple of interesting things on the Hot Mic podcast last night. First, he said that the X-Men are building around Jean, Professor X, and Scott. And what this means is they are making those characters the highest priority, as most of the story beats will revolve around those characters and their conflict. And so all the other characters are sort of being filtered through a process of how do they read with these other actors? What is the chemistry like between the other people and the people that are playing Jean, Cyclops, and Professor X? And although we don't know for sure what that means, it indicates to me that we're likely seeing another version of the Phoenix story, or the Dark Phoenix story. Now, on the one hand, you could say, man, we've seen that shit twice and they fucked it up twice. But on the other hand, doesn't that make it so you'd want to see a proper version of that story played out? And frankly, the relationship between Cyclops and Jean is really freaking important to the whole Dark Phoenix thing. And the fallout of that, by the way, was beautifully played in X-Men 97 Season 1 with Madeline Pryor, with Scott being super unsure of how he should feel about the actual Jean returning. So it's just so obvious that there's a lot of juice there. And in fact, even Charles Xavier plays a really important role in this, as he recruits both Scott and Jean, and he puts some mental blocks inside Jean's head to stop her from becoming really freaking powerful and going crazy, which then becomes a big thread during the Dark Phoenix saga. It allows her to have some really negative feelings towards Charles. Now, part of me is thinking that the events of Avengers Doomsday will be remembered by everybody within the MCU. And you might be like, that's obvious, Josh. What the hell are you getting at? Well, this all has to do with the soft reboot of the MCU, okay? And a lot of things we've been told is that the whole multiversal thing that's going to happen with Secret Wars, potentially the new universe that Doctor Doom creates, that universe and the events that take place in Secret Wars will likely be forgotten by most of the people living within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, first of all, a lot of them are probably gone, right? So like our entire planet probably goes away during the events of Secret Wars. And so when it comes back, they will have no memory of Secret Wars. But beyond that, it's a comic book thing. Almost all the time, the actual events of Secret Wars are not really felt on the planet. Nobody really remembers all the stuff that happened. That includes in Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars, although there are a few characters that do remember the events of Battleworld and God Emperor Doom, like Dr. Doom himself. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because we have heard from Kevin Feige and various people at Marvel Studios that these stories they're about to tell with the Avengers and the X-Men in the next two Avengers films will play a part in setting up the story for this new cast of X-Men. And so, potentially, the fight that goes down in Doomsday, the one we've been talking about in this whole freaking video, that might well have ramifications for the actual X-Men film, because people like Sam Wilson and maybe Bucky and others will remember what it was like to fight against the X-Men and how powerful Jean Grey as the Phoenix was. Now, the last little bit here for this video, I just want to throw this idea out there because it's something Jeff touched on last night. He said that he continues to hear from his sources that Marvel is looking for a black actor for Charles Xavier. He even mentions Coleman Domingo as a potential pick for that role. Now, Jeff goes on to speculate that Magneto could also be black, and that we've heard a lot of rumors that Denzel could be Magneto, and this all tracks with established rumors. These rumors, by the way, they're actually like years old, but they didn't pick back up after the Black Panther 3 thing when Denzel came out and said Coogler's writing him a role, and it kind of blew up the internet. I believe it was Jeff that then reported that it could be Magneto at that point, which again could be things that he heard years ago. These are things that I heard as well. The main thing is, I just want to open up the question for you. This is something we're going to talk a lot more about on stream, but I just wonder how you feel about a black Charles Xavier and a black Magneto. From what I've seen online, a lot of people don't necessarily mind it with Charles, but Magneto and his time in actual, camps, let's just say it that way. This dude was obviously Jewish back in the 1940s and survived the Holocaust. There's just a lot of people that think that's so central to the character, and by making him black, you're essentially maybe going away from that in some ways, and so people seem to have an issue with that. So I'm just opening up the question to you guys. To me, it's actually less about their race. It's more about the actual actor themselves. Like, you could pick a white actor that would be a terrible pick for Charles, and you could pick a black actor that would be a terrible pick for Charles, which, by the way, I think Coleman Domingo is a terrible pick for Charles. So for me, it's more about the actual actor, right? But because specifically with Magneto, his ethnicity is so important to his character and his worldview, you would have to square that circle. So I'd love to know what you think about that. Let me know in the comment section below. Seems like Marvel fans are going to be eating so good. This seems like a goddamn feast, dude. And it's crazy that a big part of Doomsday is literally Avengers vs. X-Men. I do remember a lot of reports about this in the months and even in that whole year leading up to the announcement at San Diego Comic-Con last year, you know, when RDJ comes out and everything. So they are bringing in Doom, but obviously the X-Men are playing a big role in this. And as I said earlier in this video, the big rumor is that this entire conflict between the X-Men and the Avengers is actually set up by Dr. Doom. He's really just trying to weaken both factions, and then he's probably going to flip on both of them, take all the really powerful people, like maybe a Jean Grey Phoenix, maybe a Wanda Maximoff, maybe even Franklin Richards, and he's going to use those beings to then recreate the sacred timeline. That's the big rumor out there. So anyway, let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. And as I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.